addresses the Jason Starnes matter when he was appointed to the position of Chief Administrative Officer. So, the response I have for this item: upon information and belief, then Superintendent Mike Edmonson transferred Lieutenant Colonel Jason Starnes to the interim undersecretary position. However, upon learning that such a transfer was not authorized, Lieutenant Colonel Starnes was removed from that detail. Next, LSP, through Colonel Edmonson, made a request to the LSPC to create a support position to the undersecretary because the undersecretary position can only be filled by the governor, was unfilled, and in fact remains unfilled to this day. LSPC has the authority under LSPC Rule 4.1D2 to add positions to the unclassified service when a request from the superintendent of the Office of State Police provides the requisite justification for such a position. The LSPC evaluates the proposed duties of the unclassified request and determines if authority should be granted in support of business needs of the agency. The LSPC does not have the authority to determine the specific individual who will fill those positions, or how much the person who fills the position shall be paid, as they are unclassified and not subject to the Chapter 6 provisions of the LSPC rules. Accordingly, at the August 2016 LSPC meeting, the Commission approved the creation of the Chief Administrative Officer position in accordance with the rules. The LSPC heard testimony from Ginger Krieg on February 9, 2017 regarding the pay increase for the position and confirmed that it did not come from outside sourcing. Regardless, LSPC does not have jurisdiction over a pay increase for such a position that is unclassified and outside of the classified pay grade.
If you don't mind, Mr. Millet, I'll step in first.
Okay.
I don't disagree with what you say here. I do have some significant issue, however, with the manner in which the approval of that position came about. And that was before your time. My concern is that even though technically we may have gotten truthful answers to the questions that were raised, this commission was left with the impression, at least I was, and I understand other members were as well, that there would not have been an increase in pay when someone was being transferred to that position. We don't have the authority to set that pay, but we certainly have the authority to either create or not create the position, and I would have appreciated more direct, straightforward information when I voted to create that position, and I don't feel that I had it.
Not only that, like Mr. Simeon said, you weren't here, but Mr. Simeon, if my memory is correct, asked Mike Edmonson, is this position for Jason Starnes? Mike Edmonson emphatically denied that it was. He said this was not for Jason Starnes. So the entire creation of that position, this commission was misled as to why. And I would ask the question, and the commission has the authority to create an unclassified position. So why would not the commission have authority to set the salary for a position it creates?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
The only thing, Mr. Millet, is you and I have agreement on a lot of what's going on here. That's not quite my recollection of what the question was relative to Mr. Starnes. I think my comment at the time was that we are creating a position, we are not approving any particular person. I don't think
That's
it
how
was reported.
you phrased it that way in his
I don't think it
motion.
was reported back to us by the Colonel Edmonson.
The way I remember
that
it
it was
is-
not going to be that person. It was just we only took the position. We're creating a position that's up to the department to decide who are they going to put
Well,
there.
It was actually in his motion. He made the motion and he said, we're creating this position, not creating a position for a person, any specific person, is the way he phrased
Right.
it.
Okay.
Just trying to make the clarification.
But the minutes ought to reflect that. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. The
Certainly.
recording will.
Yeah, the
And as you know, the recording's been, at my request, the recording's been sent to everybody. So it's out there.
Okay.
That's not to put aside the other concerns I have about what was communicated that day,
But as I sat in this chair, it wasn't in my wildest imagination, I wouldn't assume there was gonna be for anybody else but Jason Starnes. I rest my case. Go ahead. Next.
Well, I mean,
I guess the question is, the money, I mean, is nobody approved the money, or what?
We don't have authority over that, that's the point. That's what Euless is, you know, not real happy about.
and I guess what I'm
Not to speak for him, but I mean, I'm listening to what he's saying, so.
It is outside the pay grade.
And essentially, appointing authorities have to work within their budgetary confinements and in determining how much the job duties are worth within the unclassified authority. We don't have, they're not limited to the Chapter 6 rules.
Do we have any motions?
Well, I guess I would move to approve the response that was made with the understanding that the response didn't speak to one of the issues that I think Mr. Millet raised, and that was whether or not, and I don't want to speak for him, whether or not we were provided accurate information, or at least the information that we acted on was correct information when we approved the position. That was kind of convoluted, but if anybody understood it, they could second it.
Trying to just wrap my mind around that.
What?
I am too.
I'll withdraw.
So the only protest that we have is that the former superintendent was indirect and misleading in his testimony.
I wouldn't use that word. I would say that we did, the information that was provided to us did not fully disclose the impact of the creation of the position, and I'm not trying to say that it was intentional, but it certainly did not give me all of the information about what the effect of creating that position was going to be.
And that phrase that way, I can second that.
Yeah, I was not,
Okay.
I couldn't get in the man's mind. I don't know what his intent was.
So the way that was phrased, I'm happy to second that motion.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Are you kidding me?
Good luck.
Because I'm looking over at him and he's,
Well, it's on the recording.
It's on the recording.
gotcha. Okay, so if you second it, do we have any further discussion?